It's been 11 years since Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain dropped in September 2015, and I'm going to say something that'll get me flamed in the comments. It's still the best stealth game ever made. Not just the best Metal Gear game, the best stealth game. Full stop. This game sold 10 million copies, made $179 million in the first day. It was the most anticipated game of that year. And somehow, despite being surrounded by controversy, Kojima leaving Konami, cut content, a divisive ending, it became one of the greatest games ever made. Fast forward to 2026, and we're sitting here with the modern community still creating content, speedrunners still discovering new strategies, and people like me still replaying it because the gameplay is just that good. Today, I'm breaking down why the Phantom Pain still matters, what makes it special, and why you should absolutely play it if you haven't already. The story of the Phantom Pain is complex, layered, and deliberately ambiguous. You play as Venom Snake, a medic from the previous game, Ground Zeroes, who wakes up from a 9-year coma in 1984. You got a huge shrapnel spike embedded in your brain. Your arm is gone. And you're angry. 9 years ago, your commanding officer, Big Boss, and the entire Mother Base were attacked by an elite military unit called XOIF, led by the mysterious Skullface. XOIF destroyed everything, scattered your comrades, and disappeared with classified materials. But here's the twist. While you were in a coma, you underwent plastic surgery and hypnotherapy. Zero, the leader of an organization called Cypher, decided to turn you into a double of Big Boss, a phantom, a copy made to protect the real Big Boss by drawing attention away from him. The game doesn't immediately tell you this. You think you're Big Boss for most of the campaign. You're convinced you're hunting Skullface for revenge. You're building a new military force called Diamond Dogs from scratch. You're recruiting soldiers, developing weapons, expanding Mother Base. Everything feels important and personal. And then, 2/3 through the game, the truth hits you. You're not Big Boss. You're someone else entirely. You're a manufactured legend. This twist is either brilliant or infuriating, depending on your perspective. Some players say it's genius commentary on how games create myths and how players project their own identity onto characters. Others say it's Kojima getting philosophical when he should be telling a story. I think it's both. The twist works narratively because it forces you to confront what you've been doing. You've been building weapons of war, making morally questionable decisions, becoming increasingly ruthless, all while thinking you were avenging your comrades. But you were really just a pawn the whole time. The game explores this through the characters around you. Kazuhira Miller, your right hand, is consumed by revenge. Ocelot, the legendary gunslinger, is in on the secret but keeps quiet. Quiet, a silent female soldier, becomes increasingly important to the story as you progress. And through side missions and hidden tapes, you discover that the real Big Boss has been doing something far more sinister in the shadows. The ending is deliberately unresolved. Major plot points are left hanging. Some people say this proves the game is unfinished. Some people say it's intentional, that Kojima wanted to leave it ambiguous so you make your own conclusions. In 2026, we've had over a decade to parse this, and people still argue about whether it's genius or incomplete. That's actually kind of perfect for a Metal Gear game. The real genius of the Phantom Pain is the gameplay. This is where the game transcends all the narrative debate and becomes undeniably special. Kojima took Metal Gear's stealth formula and finally gave players true freedom in how to approach situations. Previous Metal Gear games were linear. You moved from checkpoint A to checkpoint B, with some flexibility in between. The Phantom Pain throws you into massive open maps and says, your target is over there, do whatever you want. You can go in guns blazing, you can sneak around for 3 hours, you can infiltrate via helicopter, you can hire soldiers with specialized skills, you can befriend a wolf. Literally, there's a wolf you can recruit. You can full-tin soldiers into the sky using balloons to extract them. Everything is viable. The stealth mechanics are tight. Enemies have genuine line-of-sight AI. They hear your footsteps. They react naturally when they spot you. And when they do, it's tense. The game doesn't punish you for being seen, but it creates incredible emergent moments. Maybe you were spotted, so you hide in a cardboard box and wait for them to get confused. Maybe you throw an empty magazine to distract them. Maybe you call in air support and let them handle it. The beauty is that the game lets you play however you want. Weapon and item variety is insane. You've got tranquilizer guns, exploding decoys, phantom cigars that make you invisible, cloaking cloaks, night vision goggles, the list goes on. And you can customize everything. Attach a suppressor to your rifle, change the reload animation, adjust accuracy. You're building loadouts for specific missions. The Mother Base expansion mechanics add strategy. As you recruit soldiers, your base grows. You get new technology, weapons get developed. You're constantly unlocking new gear and abilities. This creates a loop where single-player missions make your base stronger, which makes future missions easier, which motivates you to do more missions. It's compulsive in the best way. The Fox engine, which Kojima Productions built specifically for this game, allows for seamless transitions between exploration and stealth. You're crawling through terrain, the animation is fluid, the camera stays responsive, and nothing breaks immersion. Weather affects gameplay too. Rain masks your footsteps, sandstorms reduce visibility. You have to adapt. Now, one criticism, missions can get repetitive. Late-game missions are often repeats of earlier missions, but with different conditions. That's partly due to cut content. There are theoretically meant to be more unique late-game missions, but something got cut. Some people see this as a massive flaw. I see it as a minor blemish on an otherwise exceptional experience. The Phantom Pain is powered by the Fox engine, a proprietary engine Kojima Productions built from scratch specifically for this game. At the time, it was absolutely cutting edge. The lighting was photorealistic. Character models were incredibly detailed. Animations were smooth and natural. In 2026, 11 years later, it still holds up remarkably well. The environments look lived in. Afghanistan feels like a real war-torn country. You can see the details on soldiers' uniforms. The way light interacts with surfaces is still impressive, even compared to modern games. The cutscenes blend seamlessly into gameplay without noticeable frame rate drops. On console in 2015, it ran at 60 FPS on PS4 and Xbox One, with occasional dips. In 2026, emulation on modern hardware makes it run even more stable. On PC, max settings at the time looked absolutely stunning. Modders have since created graphics overhauls using tools like Reshade that make it even more impressive. One thing that impressed critics was how the Fox engine handled environmental destruction. Buildings can be infiltrated from multiple angles. Terrain can be manipulated. Destroyed areas show battle damage. It contributes to the sense that your actions matter visually. The animation quality is probably the most overlooked aspect. D-Dog, your dog companion, moves with almost Pixar-level detail. Your character's crawl animations are varied depending on terrain. Enemies react realistically when hit. The attention to detail is meticulous. Here's where things get messy. The Phantom Pain is unquestionably incomplete. There's evidence of cut missions, cut storylines, and cut cinematics. Composer Rika Muranaka revealed that over 30 commissioned songs were never used because Kojima didn't have time to implement them. Boss fights and entire campaign chapters are missing. The ending mission has you essentially managing a nuke and then choosing whether to actually use it. The story ends ambiguously. You never get a final confrontation with Big Boss. Instead, there's a mid-credits sequence revealing a major twist, and then the game just sort of ends. Kazuhisa Miller has some final dialogue that suggests a darker path ahead, but it cuts off. Some people interpret this as intentional. Kojima was making a commentary on games, war, and how players project meaning onto narratives. By cutting off the ending abruptly, he's forcing players to make their own conclusions. It's meta, it's artistic. Other people see it as Konami pulling the plug. They think Kojima ran out of time or budget because of his conflict with Konami. They point to the repetitive missions and the obvious missing content as proof that this is an unfinished game that somehow got released anyway. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Yes, content was cut. Yes, the ending is incomplete. But whether that's intentional commentary or corporate interference has become a fascinating philosophical debate that's been raging for 11 years. The
The fact that the Phantom Pain generates this much discussion about its narrative structure is almost a point in its favor. It's a game that makes you think.
The Kojima-Konami split is important context for understanding the Phantom Pain's reception and legacy. In March 2015, while the game was still in development, Konami announced they were parting ways with Hideo Kojima. This wasn't amicable. Kojima's name was removed from marketing materials. His name was removed from the game cover. For a while, there were reports that Kojima wasn't even allowed to finish the game. But he did finish it. And somehow, through all that chaos and animosity, he made a masterpiece. The fact that the Phantom Pain was released in this atmosphere is almost more impressive. Kojima was working under pressure, with his employer distancing himself publicly, and he still created a game that critics and players loved. Since then, Kojima Productions split from Konami entirely. Kojima founded his own independent studio and went on to make Death Stranding, which is a completely different kind of game. Konami kept the Metal Gear franchise, but didn't do much with it until recently announcing Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 in Unreal Engine 5. The Phantom Pain exists as this fascinating artifact of that moment. It's Kojima's last Metal Gear game, his final hurrah with the franchise. And given everything he was dealing with, the fact that it's this good is remarkable. Is Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain worth playing in 2026? Absolutely. It's one of the greatest games ever made. The gameplay is exquisite. The level design is brilliant. The graphics still look good. The story, while controversial and incomplete, is memorable and thought-provoking. And the modding community ensures there's always new content to discover if you want to revisit it. The only reasons not to play it are you hate stealth games, you need narrative closure and get frustrated by ambiguous endings, or you're morally opposed to Konami because of how they treated Kojima. If none of those apply, you owe it to yourself to experience the Phantom Pain. The game is constantly on sale for $10 to $15. You can get hundreds of hours out of it if you engage with the side missions and try different approaches to objectives. That's arguably the best value you're going to get from any game right now. Some people call it unfinished, some people call it incomplete, some people call it a masterpiece. I think it's all three. It's an unfinished masterpiece that's somehow more impactful because it's unfinished. It makes you question what a game can be, what a story can be, and what a player's role in both is. In 2026, sitting here more than a decade later, Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain remains essential. It's a game that defined what stealth games could be. It's a game that proved Kojima Productions could create something transcendent, even when the company was falling apart. And it's a game that, despite all its flaws and controversies, still holds up as one of the best gaming experiences ever created. Thanks for watching. If you're planning to jump into the Phantom Pain, let me know in the comments what your approach will be. Are you the stealth type or the burn it all down type? Like the video if you appreciate games that take risks. Subscribe for more deep dives into iconic gaming experiences, and I'll see you next time. And remember, 5 has come too.